everyone. Welcome back to the Always Closing podcast. Today I have Shima Circle with me today from Compass. So thank you, Shima, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So why don't we start off by you just telling me a little bit about your background, maybe for people who may not know you, a little bit
Okay.
about your background and how you got started in the real estate industry.
Okay. I actually graduated from El Camino College, where I had majored in journalism and decided to transfer to Cal State Long Beach. And
Okay.
actually did journalism and child development there. And I had the school of, graduating and going off and working in journalism. So my first job out of college was for a real estate magazine, and it was a 9 to 5, and I just felt miserable. I realized I couldn't do a 9 to 5 and sit behind a desk all day.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel like myself. I love talking to people. So I just was in this really weird situation because I felt like I had earned my degree, but it wasn't what I was doing. So the opportunity came at actually Keller Williams, and I had heard about it's essentially a front desk position
Hmm.
that they called the director of first impressions. And I basically went in for an interview, and the team leader there told me, come work here and I'll show you how to be a realtor. And I was like, what? I'm not going to become a realtor. Like, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
But because I was so unhappy with my job, I decided to give it a shot. So within 2 months of working there, I got my real estate license. I was just doing the job 9 to 5 there, but underneath the desk when it was empty or, nobody needed me, I was studying. Got my real estate license. And then I think within a couple months, I got my first transaction. And that was actually kind of a crazy story. I was beginning my blog online, and somebody that was already had her home listed with another agent called me through my blog, and she was like, I'm having a horrible experience and I need some help. So I ran up to my now team leader, my current team leader, and I was like, I need someone to go on this listing appointment. I can't go. Like, I'm working a job.
Right.
And so he actually went and represented us. And that was kind of like my calling. I felt like it was a sign to go into real estate. That's kind of how I began real estate.
Awesome. So you originally didn't really want to go into real estate, right? What was
I feel like nobody
your
does. I
goal?
always feel like it's a lie when people say, like, I want, how do you know that you want to become a realtor? Maybe now because it's so popular, but I got my license almost 9 years ago, 9 or 10 years ago. And at that time, nobody talked about real estate. It wasn't something you would just hear someone saying. So for me, I truly feel like the cards just aligned where it was an opportunity that came to me. I didn't seek it, so I felt like it was kind of a meant to be. Not that it's been easy, obviously it's been a lot of learning and growing, but I've had times where I've wanted to almost give up because it seems not feasible or it just doesn't make sense. But I just feel like it's authentically who I am to help people. So I feel like it is my calling.
What did you do in those times when you felt, stuff was too difficult or you just couldn't make it work or it wasn't feasible, like you said? Because I feel like a lot of people might be going through that right now, right? Just the way the market's
Absolutely.
been the last year or so, year or two.
Yeah.
Uh, what would be some advice for people that may be feeling that now?
As tough as it is to say this, I don't think real estate is for everyone. And I was very fortunate when I did get my license. I was still living at home. So I had the luxury of having, not having rent or things like that. But it isn't for everyone because it's a really, really scary business in the sense that you don't know when your next paycheck is coming. So I think the way I was able to survive was I had a really big support team. Now our team is 15 agents, but when I first began to, it was like 5 agents on my team. And the times that you feel defeated or rejected, or you're not going to have a deal, or just any of those feelings, I always relied on my team, who's now like my family. Till this day, we keep each other accountable when we're going through a really tough transaction. I always have someone to rely on to talk with, because it's a really lonely business. So I can't remember the question, but I think what I was going with was basically I wouldn't be able to have survived this far without them.
And what's like a piece of advice if, let's say, if someone is slow right now or saying maybe this is not for me, what's like one thing that someone can do to maybe get a little spark of motivation or
Yeah.
maybe get a client in? What's some things that people could be doing right now?
I think there's like the logical side and then the what you can be doing, because the logical side is you don't want to get to the point where you're so, I think, low where you're really struggling and you have to give up. So having your finances in order or finding other things that will bring in income kind of help you, even if it's small things, freelancing just to keep money coming in. Because again, when it's not coming in, that's when most people tend to give up. However, I think keeping your big why and your purpose in front of you is probably the biggest motivator. Because in those times when you do want to give up, you have to remember why you began and why you're working so hard.
That's good. That's good advice. Um, I see that like your main target market is like the South Bay area. How important is it to really focus down on a certain community and get involved with the community like I see you like you are?
It's important to some degree because when I first began, I thought my focus was going to be military families because it's something really close to me. And I was going to only primarily help military families, which is unrealistic again, because we don't have that many bases in LA. So the opportunity for that to come would really be limiting my opportunities. So
Right.
I do have a farm and I do target them because it's where I've grown up. It's what I know really well. But I think if you put all your eggs into one basket, that's just my personal opinion. I do think that for some agents, it works to just target one specific area. For me, I found that I have friends that may never be able to afford a home. And then I have some that, they're on their second or third, or they have investments. So I try not to limit myself and limit others. And I just help people when I can and wherever I can.
Um, Speaking on what you mentioned right now, that you wanted to help military
Mhm.
families, why is that so close to your heart? And I see that what was it here? There's like a title that you have, right, for like relocating military families.
Correct. Yes. So basically, when I was growing up, my parents owned a restaurant or own a restaurant, and right next door there was a U.S. Forces office. So since I was like 8 years old, my parents always had me respect them. I would spend a lot of my free time in there doing push-ups, or I was a kid, so I would go to
Yeah.
every branch, and I really got to know them. And it's so weird because they would just give me free things like keychains or water bottles, but it really stuck with me how they were respected. And then actually in my early 20s, I did date someone in the military. So I also experienced deployment to
Mhm.
just see how much it affects the families. And then just respecting them, having seen what they've gone through, having friends that are in the military now, and just having a lot of respect for them.
And what is the military relocation specialist? Is that
Program.
like a special set of like courses that you had to take for to be able to have that?
Correct. So basically, the VA loan is unfortunately looked down upon by most people because they don't know enough about it. I think a lot of it is looked down on because they don't have to put anything down. It's 0%.
Mhm.
So a lot of agents are not knowledgeable in it, whereas the VA loan is actually the most secure loan you can get. It's backed up, by the US government. So I always tell people it is actually a really good opportunity to choose a buyer with a VA loan. But so basically, my background allows me to defend them and come in and really stand up for them when I'm writing offers for them, and also educating the other side because a lot of it is just they don't know what they're accepting, so they won't. So I really stand up for my clients and tell them, hey, this VA buyer is strong because of this, this, and this. So it did require special education. And then I do work with relocation companies now who will call me firsthand and say, hey, we have someone coming into the area, or we need someone to move to a different area. Can you help them?
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
thank
Thank
you.
you for doing that.
Sure.
So you have a pretty impressive social media. You know, your personal page has a good amount of
Thank
followers.
you.
I saw that you have a couple other pages or community pages as well. Um, what have you done in order to grow them so much, and how have they impacted your business?
I think I've always just been, I mean, going back to MySpace days, I've always been the type of person that likes to share. Sometimes I think I overshare, but that's just the journalism in me. I love to write and I love to share stories. I've never looked at it as something weird. I know for some people they're like, "Oh, don't post 3 times a day." I don't really think of it as anything. And also I have family overseas, so it's been my way of having kind of like a live photo album for them.
Right.
So that's why I really enjoy posting in general because they are my biggest supporters and fans all the way across the world. As soon as they see something, they feel closer to me. So I've always just been authentic in that aspect. Um, but I've grown organically, I think, because I have always been someone that's kind of part of organizations that have met people throughout the years. And I just try to be myself, and I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I don't relate to a lot of people in the sense that I don't have children. My children are my dogs. So some people relate to that. Or if they're having a bad day, I've had people say like, oh, your story of your dog makes me laugh. And it's humbling because if I don't post for a couple of days, which is really rare that I do that, I'll always have someone check in on me and just like, hey, you're okay, or are you okay, or I miss seeing your stuff. So I don't look at it as just for me anymore. I'm like, hey, maybe somebody's going through a bad day and they just need to see a picture of my dog to smile. So
Right.
I think a lot of it has grown organically because I've tried to just be authentic to myself. And then actually at the end of last year, I decided to separate my personal and business account, which is what I've actually always told people not to do. I've always told them to merge it into one account
Yeah, I've
because,
actually heard like
yeah,
both arguments on that.
yeah. And I actually do handle other people's social media. So I've always told them if you're comfortable, try to have one. Um, it's weird to say this, but I feel like I've almost earned the ability now to separate the two because for so many years I was just merging it all. And it came to the point where I noticed that there were so many new restrictions and laws going with real estate on social media, having your DRE, that I just decided maybe it's best that I separate it to protect my clients as well. And again, maybe some people could never afford a home, and I don't want them to feel like if my information is overbearing or overwhelming for them, they don't need to see that. So I've separated it, and the people that want to see it can still see it. Whereas I have people who are just, who've been with me from the beginning.
That's smart. I like that. Um, do you use the social media to get business from that, or are you mostly just posting just your everyday life? I mean, I'm sure you're doing both, but is there
Yeah.
a focus on your business page to get business from the social media?
Of course, but I think a lot of my deals have been through social media, and it's because of continuously sharing information. When I post something, it's not like I hope this post will give me a buyer today, but I know that some people just need a trusted advisor, a friend in this business. And, sometimes it hurts if you hear that someone didn't use you because you're like, I'm in your face all the time. Like, how did you not use me? So those are the times where it really makes me kind of second guess, like, oh, do I really want to do this? Because do I want to share all this information for free? Because it's a privilege to get my information.
Right,
In my opinion, when I represent you, I'm looking out for your best interest. So is it fair to me to give all my secrets away for free? And
right.
that actually did happen to me in the last couple of years. I can share that story, but I just feel now at the end of the day, if I can just help someone through it, it will come. And if not, then it's not, they can just ignore it.
Yeah. So now you're kind of looking at it as whether they take the information and use you or not, you're okay just
Yeah.
putting that out there.
And I'm just doing my job.
Yeah,
Like I always laugh because I think of celebrities and influencers and they have consumers buying and supporting them that are strangers. So at the end of the day, I try to support my friends because I would want them to do the same for my business. So supporting your friend isn't always buying something from them. It's just sharing or liking or just,
right.
and that's the way I look at social media. We're just supporting one another at the end of the day.
Do you have any tips from maybe taking followers or leads that come from social media and turning them into clients? Do you have a system or anything you've done
I do.
to really pull them off of social media into like, a one-on-one conversation with somebody?
Yeah, if somebody reaches out and engages and shows that they do have some sort of level of interest or they want to buy one day, I always tell them it's never too soon, which is not a lie. Like I don't think that if you want to buy a house in 5 years, that you start in 5 years, you start today because there's roadblocks you have to meet, there's a path you have to go through. So I've noticed that a lot of people feel like they're bothering me if they reach out and, oh, I'm not ready. I'm in no way ready. My credit's not good, or I have to do this, or I have debt. And I always tell them, again, I'm doing my job. So you talking with me doesn't mean anything that's pulling away from my job to help people. That's what my job is, to help you and be of service.
Right.
So typically, if they respond to me and they show some sort of engagement, I will reach out and ask them. But generally, I've always been the type of person that's always just reached out to people. I send birthday cards, I send Mother's Day cards, Father's Day cards, Persian New Year cards. So I'm always just being myself, even in that aspect, by just reaching out to people.
Awesome. Do you pay attention at all to like algorithms, new trends, maybe things like that, just so that way your content gets to more people? Is that something that you're constantly looking after, and where do you find that information?
I do and I don't. I I don't know if you knew this, but I also handle several people's social media accounts for them, including other agents and escrow companies.
Mhm.
So I do it a lot for them. Because when I take them on as a client, I do tell them that's part of my job is to kind of keep their business afloat.
Right,
So if I don't, then I'm not really doing what I am advertising. But I've found that following the trends is not really about gaining followers in my idea. And I think you can have a million followers, but they mean nothing to you. You want to have authentic people that like you for you and are going to support your business. So I kind of stopped trying so hard to get all these followers and just focusing on the ones I have by being a friend, and reaching out to them and supporting their business, supporting their friendships, just being part of their lives. So by following the algorithm, sorry, it's mostly just to see what content of mine they actually like. So I'll see like what posts are being saved, what are being shared, and I found that a lot of it is just homes. People want to see homes. So, they are all those shows that we're seeing on TV is what people are all about. They get motivated and inspired by other beautiful homes.
right. What about your Airbnb business? I saw that you also promote that on your page as well. Tell us about that and how you got into that, and if do you incorporate that in your real estate business? Maybe help people that are looking for Airbnbs or
I
homes to turn
do.
into an Airbnb.
Yeah, I do. So actually, my brother and I purchased that together. It was our investment. We closed we're in 22, so 2022. My brother was always the type that wanted to purchase in Lake Havasu, and I only wish I had done it sooner because, of course, the prices went up. Um, but I wasn't able to, financially, I couldn't. So I always tell people buy what you can or buy what you can where you can when you can. So the opportunity came where I could buy a home in Lake Havasu. So I couldn't afford something here comfortably. So I was like, okay, let's do that. And it's been a
You
learning
like
grow.
going there as well, or like
I do.
are you into boating?
Yeah. Actually, I bought the house sight unseen, which is what I never tell people to do. I
Yeah.
wasn't there for the inspections. I found my agent through social media. He's
Okay.
great. So I'm all about that, obviously. I went on social media and I found the top best agent there and I found him. And I just was like, hey, get me into escrow. And we actually opened escrow on one, canceled, and then we went into the one that we're currently in. And I do promote my Airbnb because it is me, it is my business. And of course, it's somewhere where I hope other people will want to visit as well. Uh, I've had a few leads through like that I are my own friends that have booked, but a
Mhm.
lot of it has been through my Instagram. People go and they search the hashtag like Havasu Airbnb, and then they find my link and then they go book it, they've said. So I
Nice.
do believe in the power of social media.
Very cool. So
Thank
why
you.
Lake Havasu? Are you and your brother into boating or
He's
going?
always been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had only gone to Lake Havasu once before we purchased. So like
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. Um, a- if it were up to me, I probably would have done something in Big Bear. I'm a more cabin kind of person, but
Mhm.
I'm so happy with our decision because every time I go there, I'm so relaxed. It's so beautiful. I kind of joke and say it's Las Vegas on water for adults. It's a party
Yeah.
town to some extent. But we got our first snowbirds this season, which is basically, elderly flying in from colder climates to
Mhm.
escape. And it's been fun. I'm like, this can be a year-round business. There's going to be times where we're not as busy, and that's okay as long as we can pay off our mortgage. So, you got to just do what you can and let your money grow because it does nothing for you in the bank.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, when I was going through your stuff, I was like, we actually have a lot in common because I
Oh,
also have an
cool.
Airbnb.
Oh,
So I just started my first one last year. Um,
congrats.
thank you. I like going to Havasu too because I'm into boating, and so I go
Yeah.
at least 2, 3 times a year.
Oh, cool.
So I love the area too, so it was very cool. And
Yeah.
so I noticed you're a super host. I just got my super host status too. So
Congrats.
um, tell us about like the experience, like going through the steps to make that happen as well. How has that helped your Airbnb?
It's actually funny. This is like my husband says like I don't sleep because I've always been, I tell my real estate clients this as well. There's going to be times throughout the escrow process you're going to feel like you're panicking and you're going to like want to walk off ledge. Just call me. So people don't believe me, but I've actually had them call me at 4 in the morning and I answer. And I think that's what set me apart on Airbnb too. Like the minute they ask for something, I'm there. I've
Yeah,
never had to make them overthink. I have a manual there. I try to treat it like I how I would want to be treated. So I found a small business out there that makes fresh homemade cookies, and I love her. She's been really awesome. So I always make sure to have cookies when people arrive because who doesn't love cookies? Make sure that I paid more for my maid, but I wanted to trust someone that was going to make sure it was spotless to my level of perfection.
yeah,
Um, so I think there's a lot of things that have made it the way it is, but when I when I went into the home to design it, I just made it very, very homey. I made it as cozy as possible so that everyone could go. I have a few friends who have children with autism, so I made sure to have toys for children with autism. I've had a lot of people thank me for that. So I just wanted it to be a place where nobody felt out of place. Everybody could come and it felt like home for them.
it's amazing. I know who to talk to next time I need to rent a house out there then.
Well, there you go.
Um, so where do you see the market going this year? Are you feeling positive about it? I know a lot of people are because now rates are starting to slightly go down a little bit again. Um, do you see this being a good year? What's your
I hope
expectation?
so. I hope so. I think that consumers deserve it. Like it's never a bad time to buy real estate, in my opinion. It's
Mhm.
just when you can. There were people that could afford it when the rates seemed a lot higher for most people. I think that it's going to be a good year in the aspect where people are one realizing that it's well, I don't want to say never, but that crash that we've been waiting on hasn't happened. What's
Right.
happened is opposite. No one thought during a pandemic that prices were going to go this crazy. Like that's the last thing I would have thought. If
Yeah.
the world felt like it was ending, I thought everyone would run away. But it was
And
like,
the complete
20
opposite. Yeah.
offers per phone. Yeah, I was shocked. So nothing surprises me anymore. So I don't know what to expect anymore. I do think people are finding more reason to buy than rent though. The prices are just the same. Um, I feel good. I don't know about investment properties. I think there's going to be a little bit less people buying or being landlords because I think that there was a lot of scare with that with the pandemic and all the evictions.
Hmm.
But I do think that people will buy more real estate this year.
That's awesome. Um, what are your goals for this year? Have you set any goals for yourself that you want to accomplish? Anything new that you're trying out this year?
I haven't gave up on my cabin idea, so I have like a vision
Mhm.
board. It's there. I really want my cabin. I think for me, it's to help as many families as I can. I have a goal of helping at least 20. It just doesn't matter the price point, as many as I can, because I just turned 34 last year, so I'll be 35 this year. I feel like I'm at an age where a lot of my friends are also buying now. I
Mhm.
would love to help more people that I know because it's a win for me too when they win.
Right.
Um, I am trying to just be consistent with my career, show up to the office, do more open houses, network more, kind of put myself out there. I think the hardest part of this business is being consistent. So,
Right.
when outside forces don't want you to be is like it's the hardest. So just not
Yeah, and
fighting
also
myself.
like with this business, sometimes like being consistent or doing something doesn't give you immediate results. The way some
Absolutely.
things, other things do, like,
Yeah,
same thing with like working out. You got to do it consistently, but you're not going to see
absolutely.
results right away. So
Yeah.
I agree with you that, especially in times like this where it's a little bit slower, there's not as much
Yeah.
business out there, just staying consistent and kind of getting a routine going
Yeah.
really helps out.
Yeah, and we were also in like a weird instant gratification generation. I remember like I remember very little because it was for such a short period where we would have map quests. And I
Yeah.
remember driving and like reading, and it
Yeah.
was so dangerous. And then we had, like Google Maps come, and then there were cars where it would show it. But I always joke that our generation fights the process because we just want everything immediately. Like I can go on Google and tell you how to get somewhere in 2 seconds. Whereas before, that wasn't the case. So just remembering, like you said, everything takes time. It's not going to be right away. As long
Yeah.
as you show up and do the work, it's going to come.
And sometimes on social media will give you the wrong impression too. People see like
Yes. Yeah.
everybody flexing on social and they think that,
Yeah.
oh, why don't I have that? Or why can't I have that as fast as
Yeah.
that person did? But sometimes, not always, but sometimes it's not really real. And,
Absolutely.
a lot of people don't always show you the struggle of what it took to get them there.
Yeah. And it's everyone's highlights. I always say, like, you're seeing people's best parts of their lives. And I kind of wish people didn't well, not didn't, but shared more of their hardships because then more people wouldn't feel alone. And I know it's hard to say hey, say when you're having a bad day, but it's amazing how many more people you relate to when you have struggles.
Mhm. What's something that might be interesting that maybe nobody really knows about you, something different that
Oh
you
my
think
gosh, that's a
is
hard
interesting?
question. Because I'm like such an open book. Let me think for a second on that one. Something about me. I mean, I share everything. I'm like like I said, I'm kind of an overshare. I share a lot, but
Maybe an
uh,
interest that you have that, that maybe you don't talk about as
mm,
much.
I think I would say probably that I'm actually very hard on myself because I think people are always surprised that I'm so positive. And they're
Mhm.
always like, "Oh, you're always positive." Like I've
Yeah.
never heard you have a bad day. And um, I had a weird experience happen in college that kind of changed me. So basically, when I graduated high school, my senior year, I was nominated best all around, and it really, I was like, "What? Why? Like, what did I do to get this award?" I never played sports, and I just was kind of like surprised.
Hmm.
It was really humbling and it was sweet. And then about a year into college, I remember this guy, I was like very blind back then. I needed glasses. And a guy that I went to high school with walked past me, and I guess he waved and I didn't see him. And he told my best friend, "Hey, Shima's changed." And it like struck me for years because I was like, I changed. Like what? Like you put me in a box of how I have to be because I didn't say hi to you. And I was really upset by that. So that I think image of like feeling like you have to be what people see, it was something that I had to really break through.
Hmm.
So I think a lot of people are surprised that I can be hard on myself in the sense that I feel like I can't have a bad day sometimes. I'm like,
Right.
it's funny because I'm saying, oh, people should share it, but it's because probably like I feel like I want to be that positive person all the time. But yeah, of course, I have struggles too. So maybe I should,
Hey,
do
you work in real
that.
estate, so I don't blame you.
Yeah, exactly. I have a lot of grades. So yeah. So I think probably that would probably be that I'm just tough on myself. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate, but I think that for me, that would probably be my biggest challenge is to speak nicer to myself as well.
Awesome. Well, do you have any last thoughts, any last tips that you might have for, let's say, a new realtor or someone that might be struggling right now? This whole podcast revolves around me interviewing people that I think are very successful in the industry. So, what's a tip that maybe you can give as a last thought? And also, let us know where people could follow your pages.
Okay, I appreciate that. It's interesting that you say that because I'm meeting someone tomorrow that's 24, like fresh, just got her real estate license, and she's so excited. And I'm gonna be positive for her, but I'm also gonna tell her things that I wish someone had told me when I began at that age. And a lot of it's kind of like it is hard. I think you need to know what you're getting yourself into and be prepared. It's a lot of rejections, a lot of doors slammed in your face, but you have to remember why you're doing this. Otherwise, this is not for the weak. It is you're constantly being rejected.
Right.
And it took a long time to build that skin for me. So there would probably be two things. I would tell the people who've been in this industry for as long as they have been, and maybe they're successful to consider helping the next person in line. When I first began, that was when social media was barely coming into play. And I felt like the elderly people were really kind of mean to myself and the younger agents because they saw us as a threat. like, oh, you guys are
Oh, you
coming
mean
in
like
and
older agents?
oh yeah, yeah. Like
Okay.
we were like looked down upon
Yeah,
until they realized, hey, this person can actually help me.
right.
And so I always say, like, don't judge another person. Like, we're all in this together. At the end of the day, like, I want to help you as an agent just as much as you want to help me. So I always try to speak highly of other agents. If I hear that someone says they're working with them, I never say something bad. I say, oh, you're in great hands. Even if I have never heard of them, I'm like, oh, I'm sure you're in really great hands. If it doesn't work out, here's my number. But I just treat the business like how I would want to have been treated if someone was speaking on my behalf. But my last thought would be just help people, just view this as an industry of you're helping people, whether that's an agent, an escrow officer, a title rep, just be in the service of helping, and then it'll all come naturally.
Amazing advice.
Thank
Um,
you.
well, Shima, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you doing this. You gave us a lot of good nuggets to take in.
Well, it wasn't all over the place. Sorry, I tend to talk also.
No, you're good. I mean, the questions are a little bit all over the place, but you have a lot going on, which I love. I love
Thank
when
you.
I could only imagine how busy you probably are. So again,
Try
I
to
appreciate
be.
you taking the time. Um, and then everyone, where can they follow your pages?
So Sell with Shima, so SELL with, and then my name, SHIMA, is probably my main business page. If they're
Okay,
looking for dogs and they care to see my personal stuff, it's Shima Circle. And then on Sell with Shima, I do have my privacy page as well.
awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Shima, thank you so much, and everyone who's going to tune in and watch this on YouTube and the clips that we'll post on Instagram. We'll also tag you in those. Um, Thank you for watching another episode, and tune in for the next one.
Thank you. Have a
Bye.
good one. Bye.